On behalf of the Work Better Now team, I'd like to welcome everybody to this episode of Working Better Now, and which, as everybody knows, I hope, or everybody will know, this features a Q&A with a very successful business owner. We are really thrilled today to be joined here by Scott McKain, legendary author and professional keynote speaker. Scott is also founder and CEO of the Distinctive Institute. So Scott, let me thank you so much for joining us and welcome, especially, with all of this craziness and just for everybody out there, Scott's actually in vacation on Hawaii when we're recording this. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, Rob, I appreciate it greatly. I feel like I ought to be the one thanking you because the service that you have provided has certainly helped us during this time of COVID, but it's not just a help during a challenging time. You have the work that's been done by your service has certainly convinced me that this is something I should have done a while ago, which I bet is not the first time you've heard that. I wish I would have done this sooner, but I'm certainly glad I'm doing it now.
Yeah, I actually said this myself when I got my first assistant 6 years ago. I said, why didn't I do this sooner? So yeah. I totally hear you. Let's jump right in. I'm going to give you one of those general questions that a lot of people don't like, but just Scott, and you have such an interesting background. Tell us about your career, the speaking, the writing, and Distinctive Institute. My guess is that they all kind of come together. So just tell us about how you get started and what all of that looks like today.
Well, gosh, I started very young. I was the national officer of a student organization. So I took 2 years out of college to do nothing but travel and speak. It was kind of like it was back then. It was called the Future Farmers of America. Now it's only FFA because there's so many programs in urban areas. But I was a national officer. So I took a year out to be state president, a year out to be a national officer, and I did nothing but travel and speak. We jokingly called it the Miss America of agriculture. You're attending all these meetings and speaking at all these meetings. And, you give 1,000 free speeches over a couple of year period and you hope you get a little better at it. Well, what happened then is people started asking me to come back and speak at their event after I got out of office. So it's how I paid my way through college. So then I thought, well, I'm young and I'm dumb and I don't have any bills and I'm not married. And so I might as well start this business. So I started my speaking business at 22 years old. By the time I was 22, I had met with the president in the Oval Office. I had had a personal meeting with the chairman of General Motors in the boardroom in their Detroit headquarters. I'd had these phenomenal, extraordinary experiences. Visited Russia, spoke in the Kremlin, just things that were just. I was just so fortunate to be able to do that. So I started speaking, built a career as a speaker, and it was basically I'd speak about anything. If you had a meeting and you had a topic, I could do a speech on that topic. I was a mile wide and an inch deep. And then sadly, after 25 years of marriage, my wife passed away from cancer. And I had taken a couple of years out to be her sole caregiver. I put the speaking business on hold. Well, now I've got 7 figures of medical bills. I've got nothing on the calendar. I was just flat. And to relaunch my career, I asked our customers, speakers bureaus to a great extent. I said, okay, so when you recommend me, what do you say? And I think that's a really important question for any business to be asking their customers. When you talk about us, what do you say? Jeff Bezos says your brand is what they say about you when you're not in the room. That's the best definition I've heard. Well, here was mine. Good speaker and a nice guy. Now, look, I want to be a good speaker and I hope I'm a nice guy, but that's the kiss of death. Nobody wants to book that. You want an expert. And so I thought I better figure out how businesses stand out in a competitive marketplace. And honestly, Rob, it was to make my own business stand out. It wasn't, I was searching for that as a topic. I was desperate to succeed in my own business. And I found that there really wasn't a lot of material out there at that particular time. And so the blinding flash of the obvious to me was that if I needed this for my business, what were the chances that other businesses and other entrepreneurs might need it as well? So I wrote a book about it and started speaking about it and was very fortunate. 30 major newspapers like the Miami Herald and the New Orleans Times-Picayune, Sacramento Bee, they all had it on their 10 best books of the year list. And it revolutionized my career. So I started speaking for companies like Apple and Cisco and BMW and SAP. And just the who's who of Fortune 500 companies. And so it changed my life. It changed my career. And through that process, I really developed a formula that can help businesses. And that's why the folks like Apple and others have hired me. How do you make a product, or how do you make your company separate from all the clutter out there in the marketplace? So that's what the Distinction Institute is all about. It's the speeches that I gave in a pre-COVID world and what I do now virtually. And now we're moving into a new direction, which I'm really excited about. I grew up in the family grocery store in small town Indiana. Crothersville, Indiana is my hometown. And you know, my mom and dad had the one grocery store in Crothersville. So here I am speaking for, Porsche, but how would an entrepreneur like my dad get access to the kind of information that those companies are doing? So we're moving now into a really exciting direction where we're also providing and creating training for entrepreneurs on how to deliver the ultimate customer experience and how to create distinction in your own competitive businesses. That's a long answer, but that kind of gets you from beginning to up to date with where I am now.
That's perfect. Thanks for sharing that. So is there a difference when a big company like Apple or Porsche hires you, or the work that you're going to be doing now for entrepreneurs? Is there a difference in what the outcomes are that a company would get by working with you?
Yeah, I think the outcomes are exponentially better for entrepreneurs because they're more nimble. If you're talking about a major corporation, they certainly have more resources to throw at the problem. But that's also the challenge. It means you've got to get more buy-in. It means there's more bureaucracy in their market, in their structure. One of the things I learned is that businesses are structured vertically. I mean, think about, you walk into a car dealership. I do a lot of work for one of my biggest clients is Volkswagen Group Australia. So that's Volkswagen, Porsche, Audi, Bentley, Lamborghini. And so whether you're going to a Lamborghini dealer or you're going to a Volkswagen dealership, they're all structured vertically. You have the sales department, you have the finance department, you have the service department, you have the management, but customers experience this horizontally. And a lot of times it's those gaps between those silos that create problems in the customer experience that makes us mad and gives us bad reviews and lack of repeat customers. And what entrepreneurs, I think, can do much more quickly and much more effectively is to bridge those gaps between the silos to really create a more holistic customer experience that drives repeat and referral business. The other thing is, Rob, one of the things I've found about entrepreneurs, and it's true in my case with my small business, it's true in my dad's case, is, none of us get in the business to stand out and serve customers. We got into it because we had knowledge about the specific area where we create our business. I did a program a while back for 500 owners of body shops, the auto repair shops. Well, none of those got in the auto repair business to serve customers and to stand out from other repair shops. They love working on cars.
Right.
They're car guys and gals. And so those are the skills that we have to learn. And what this process has been proven to do is to help these organizations create distinction in the marketplace, because the customers we attract are going to be much more valuable than the customers we pursue. When people are attracted to do business with you because of how you separate your experience from others, it drives repeat and referral business. Man, I'm out there talking about your business, Rob, because I'm a thrilled customer. I'm a thrilled client, and that's what we want to do. When we have a great experience like I've had with your organization, I want to tell people about it. I want to tell my friends. I want to post it on social media. Conversely, when you have a bad experience in today's world, you do the same.
Right.
That's part of what we got to catch up with too as entrepreneurs. If my mom and dad disappointed a customer in Crothersville at the grocery store, they might tell a few people at church on Sunday, right? Now you go on Yelp or you go on Facebook or Nextdoor and you post it and everybody knows it. I mean, I posted a thing about a bad experience I had with Long's Pharmacy here in Hawaii while we've been here. And it's got over 1,000 likes so far and has been read by 100,000 plus people. Well, customers have never had that megaphone before. And we got to realize that makes creating this experience so much more important than it's ever been.
Everybody's a publisher today. Everybody's a media
Absolutely.
company. Yeah.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your company. You're obviously doing a lot between speaking and writing and the Institute. What's your team like? And also as part of that answer, what's your role as the CEO? Because you're a true creative talent, right? But at the same time, you got to run the company. So what tell us about the team and what you think your job is when you're wearing that CEO hat is.
Well, that's a great question. And it's one of the things I've been forced to do because of COVID that I needed to have done earlier is to really look more specifically at what role I do best. And I needed to be writing more books and creating more training courses and doing more creative activity. But I got so bogged down in, making certain that the flight from Kansas City to Phoenix was going to be the right one, or that I'd responded to all the emails. And then you add I always feel funny about using the word pressure because, it's kind of a first world problem, but the pressure of posting constantly on social media, so you keep getting your content out there because it's like a funnel in my business is that if people become aware of me through social media, then they might check out the blog or they might go to my website. And if they're interested there, they might buy a training course or they might book me for a virtual speech. But I first got to get them interested, right? I mean, mind share precedes market share. And if they're not thinking about me, they're not moving through that process. I was trying to do all of that. Shelley Irwin is our chief operating officer. So she kind of keeps the wheels on the bus and she does all the website. She does everything in terms of scheduling on my calendar. She does all of that. Benjamin Amick does the video. He's the production person for our program. And then my wife, Tammy, works in the business as well. And she's basically chief financial officer. But I was spending too much time in the details. And that's where I needed help. I needed help in somebody that could do the posting on social media, that could help manage the calendar, that could, in our first, we kind of did a trial run of our program for entrepreneurs, and we created a special group for them that's a mastermind type, intensive coaching type program. Well, intensive coaching also means intensive contact. We've got to stay in touch with these people. Yet, I had found that basically I had worked 7 days a week from January 1, and I needed to figure this out. And I as you know, I found online and through a reference from another author, another company that did virtual help, and everything they did was wrong. I mean, literally, the language, there was nothing that they helped me with on social media that I would post. I asked to preview everything that they did, and it ended up taking more time to correct their errors than to just do it myself. So I was when I first talked with you folks, as I expressed, I came in with a little bit of baggage. I came in a little concerned, and I tell you, Dahlia is a rock star, and I almost hesitate to mention her name. I don't want anybody else to,
First names only, right?
She is that good, and I don't even review the posts anymore. I mean, I don't need to. I totally trust her. She is now going to be the person in charge of the contact with those that are our accelerated coaching program, to make certain that they get all their coaching visits scheduled, to make certain that everything goes out to them. We do daily posts to them. We are really intensive with our contact with them. And she, the title that she has with that particular group is concierge. If there's anything they need, they call her directly. And so it's a brand new program, but I can't be more excited about how she's done. And just thinking that, I mean, my wife and I not taking any time off, and just thinking that if I'm here in Hawaii and something needs to happen, that she's going to make it happen, and I don't have to worry about it, is just extraordinarily freeing. And the other thing is, it allows me to spend more of my time creating new content, which is it's the engine that drives, the rest of the business.
That's fantastic. Very glad to hear that. And then what about your role as CEO? What do you, I mean, again, you're a big part of the content production. It's all coming from here. How do you stay on top of the business and lead the business forward?
I've had to change my thinking about that, Rob, and that's a great question. I think I need to think more like a chairman than a CEO. That for example, I need to be looking ahead at the vision of, for our own business, what will content consumption look like in the future? What will training look like in the future? What will speaking look like? What books will business leaders be interested in purchasing in the future? So those are things I need to be considering. And then how do I create the content for that? So my problem was I was trying to operate almost as a co-chief operating officer. And what my company really needed was for me to be a chairman. That I'm going to set policy, I'm going to create vision, and then I'm going to get help with other people. And I got to tell you, and I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard this either. When your main skill is creativity, typically organization is not your second highest.
Yeah, the left brain and right brain both can't be that big, right?
You are exactly right. And I am not good at organization. And, then I was putting that on Shelley to help me with that. Well, her plate was full taking care of clients. She didn't need to be making sure. So one of the things that Dahlia and I have set up is, every morning when I first sign on, there is the daily schedule of what I'm supposed to do that day. And we are set up on Slack for her to connect with me and just keep me reminded of everything to make certain that, and that's one of the things I love. It's hard to describe, but there are so many balls in the air with what we do simply because we have so many clients and so many contacts. And it ranges everything from, somebody that just bought a book and has a question to, we got a call a while back and it was the CEO of BMW Europe that had just seen a YouTube video and wanted to contact me, so it can range, for a major deal. So it's all over the board, and we want to make sure that everybody, when you talk about the customer experience, you better deliver a good one, so promptness is really, really important. And that's where changing the thinking about my role in the business has helped our business survive and thrive. And one other quick thing, Rob, and this is kind of a weird thing to say, but there's a lot of my colleagues that, just like the restaurant business or just like other businesses, that aren't making it right now. Because when your livelihood is dependent upon the meetings industry, and that basically shuts down in terms of live events, and who knows with the most recent surge when that's going to change, your business has to change and has to be in shape. And a lot of folks just they haven't chosen to make that shift. And man, I don't care what business you're in, you got to be willing to look at your business and think about your business. And as an entrepreneur, think about your role in the business. And my advice, and part of what I'm coaching these folks in the program, is you need to think a little higher. You need to elevate your thinking a little more and get people to help you do the details so that you can continue to think about the future and about what's really important.
Gotcha. Thanks for that. If we just turn gears just a tiny little bit, obviously so much business is now being done online that used to be done face to face. What is it that businesses need to be, particularly smaller businesses, what do they need to be doing a better job of when it comes to communicating online, whether it's showing how distinctive your company is, or making sure that your online calls, your sales calls, which are now online, are more effective? Is there some general rules of thumb that companies should be thinking about and entrepreneurs need to be thinking about?
Let me give you just a couple. One is ask the customer how they would like to be contacted. I find this works so well. A lot of the business I do is in financial services for some of the top financial firms. And as I work with their financial advisors, for example, it has dramatically changed their business when you ask the client, by the way, how would you like for me to be in touch? Do you want to do it on Zoom? We can talk like this. Would you rather have text? Would you rather have, because when the client gets to define it, then, and let's face it, there are some clients that are, depending on what line of work you're in, what you're selling, what your business is, there's some clients, they want to mask up and still see you face to face, and depending on how comfortable you are with that. But when you let them decide, then that's the first step. The second corollary to that is don't be afraid to over communicate. I'm not talking about oversell, not constant pushing of product or service, but don't be afraid to over communicate with clients about, how you doing? What's going on in your world? Asking them important questions. I think the second thing for entrepreneurs is to realize that we've all become broadcasters, right? I mean, I remember years ago, this is when my business was first starting, God knows how many years ago, but we were so excited about PageMaker software on the Mac because now we could do our own newsletter. Well, what happened was everybody became a publisher. And then when WordPress comes out, everybody can have a blog. Everybody became a blogger. Well, now with Zoom and now with live streaming, everybody's a broadcaster. So think about what that means in terms of how you communicate. I'll give you a quick example from my broadcasting background. If you're selling and you're person to person, or if you're speaking and you're on a stage, you're putting on in a lot of cases, a big performance. You've got samples you can show or products you can show or things you can do. That looks crazy on camera. It's a more intimate medium. It's hotter is what we called it when I was in TV news. It's a very hot medium. And so what you have to do is to bring it in, to communicate directly with the camera and to be of the moment and to make your points very succinctly and engagingly, because we want to engage, whether it's online or whether it's in person. So, get a course on how to have better online communication. There's a lot of courses. I've got one called Post-Pandemic Events that talks about how do you communicate in a virtual world. There's a lot of them out there. And I think it behooves every entrepreneur to learn a little bit about the tools that they're using.
Terrific. Thanks for that. But I actually want to stay a little similar topic. In terms of your business, let's talk about whether it's, in this COVID environment or even pre-COVID, what are some of the things that you have kind of given the directive to your team to do, whether it's to move forward, whether it's to be more productive, whether it's to ensure a better customer experience? And you have the CEO of BMW North America calling you, and then you're rolling out this program for entrepreneurs. What are some of the, and since you're taking this chairman role, right, you're kind of setting the stage and getting out of the way, what are the directives that you've given to your team to ensure a good customer experience, good productivity over the past, not only the past 6 months, but the past couple of years?
Focus on the how. There is a book out that I love part of the book and not another part of the book. And with all respect, start with why. Now, Rob, I think you need a great why for you. I think I need a great why for my business. But customers don't buy your why. They buy your how. If the performance of, Dahlia would have been as poor as with the other group, I wouldn't say, yeah, but let's keep her on. Rob's got a great why. I'm paying for the how. I'm paying for the performance. If it doesn't matter what the business is, what the customer is really buying is your how. So focus on those processes. In the research from my latest book, Iconic, one of the things that I found that iconic companies are really good at is going negative. Now, we don't hear that a lot in discussions about business. We and particularly with a pandemic, saying we should go more negative sounds so counterintuitive. But here's what I mean by that. And it's what I've instructed my group to do, is that anytime there's dissatisfaction with a customer, what most businesses do is try to placate that customer. Hey, we'll give you half off next month, or we'll give you an extra month, or we'll do, whatever, so that you're not mad. And really that's Yelp prevention department, right? It's just managing the feedback that happens there. What top leaders do, and what we're trying to do, is to say something went wrong in the process. something happened that didn't go right to create this dissatisfied customer, and we got to go negative. We got to go deep into what could go wrong to prevent another customer from having that experience. Because while maybe customer A complained and we were able to play nice and placate them, customer B may not say anything to us, but then go out and spread, bad reviews and bad messaging. So we have really started focusing, and that's an important part of having a virtual assistant, is to really drill down into your processes of, okay, one of the most important questions, it's a 3-word phrase that I think makes the customer experience, is simply, and then what? Right? Somebody calls our office, and then what? How do we answer? When do we answer? What do we do? They are interested in coaching, and then what? What do we send them? How do we follow up? And you got to get really, really granular about that. And you also have to have a team that can execute on that. And that's a problem for many solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, is that you've got to wear the creativity hat, and then you got to wear the execution hat, and you've got to, and you've got to keep both of those. Sometimes I feel like that guy. Have you ever seen the circus act where the guy's spinning the plates, and he's got to keep the other, but that's being an entrepreneur, right?
I've seen it. I've lived it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and then you realize you can actually give somebody else the stick with the plate.
Bingo. That is exactly it. And that was that's the problem, is that we, as entrepreneurs, we start out and we're spinning all the plates, but if they keep adding more sticks, the plates keep getting bigger and harder to spin. And here's the other thing: audiences, customers, are more demanding. Hey, they've seen that plate spinning thing before. What are you going to do differently that makes your plate spinning thing stand out from other plate spinners? So that's been our real hard effort, and it's one that we're going to continue, and it's one that really should never end, because as you innovate, it's also going to create the need to continue to examine how you deliver that innovation.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great, thank you for that, Scott. This is the part of the program, if you will, that I typically ask about your experience with your WBN virtual assistant, but you've already said so many nice things, which is very, very nice to hear, and we're really thrilled that you're happy with her and that she's made an impact.
I am thrilled beyond belief. I had such a bad experience previously, and I expressed that man, I'll. And the interview process was fascinating too. That's part of what I loved about how this was handled, because I interviewed 2 people, and I have to tell you that from the resume, I just thought it was the other person. But the interview process, how Dahlia conducted herself in the interview, and the answers that she gave, and the illumination that she gave to her background, convinced me that there was no question that she was the person, for what I was looking for. And that's part of what I loved as well, is that this wasn't just a, sign up and we'll interview you and then we'll tell you who you get. The fact that you involved me in that process has made the sync between, what I'm looking for and the other folks on my team and her, and integrating into that. I just can't say enough about that. That's really, but it gets back to what I talk about, right? Is that experience is created out of personalization. When we feel it's, even if I'm taking my car into service, I don't want you to think, oh, you're servicing another one of those models of that particular. No, you're working on my baby. You're working on my car. It's my car, right? And I want, every customer wants that, whether we're selling widgets or whether we're providing, high-level consulting services. It doesn't matter. We want to feel like you know who we are. And the interview process and what you did through that made me a believer.
Terrific. We're thrilled that you're thrilled.
Thank you.
Just switching gears, when you're not helping all of these businesses become better, what do you like to do in your free time, Scott?
Well, I hadn't had any until I got a virtual assistant. So I'm retraining myself here. Right now, we're traveling. We felt comfortable given the the strictness of the COVID regulations and everything in Hawaii to take a couple weeks off. So we're doing that, and it's the first time we've done 2 weeks off for, I don't remember the last time. 10 years. I don't know. So that freedom is part of what I love too, the comfort that it's given me. I hit the golf ball every once in a while, not well, but I love doing that. And I'm an avid reader. It's really strange, Rob, is that some of the great ideas that I get about business, I can get by reading a Stephen King novel, or I can get from, I'm reading now the biography of James Baker that was the Secretary of State and all that. I mean, there are things that I learned about the relationship that he had with his great friend, the President Bush, that you think about. Now that's interesting. Is that here's a couple of friends that got in business, but part of the problem that they had is they didn't clearly define the roles. They just assumed each other would know it because they were friends. And I how many times do you see that with an entrepreneur? A couple of friends get into business and they don't define their roles. They don't create job descriptions for each other. So it creates problems. So it's funny. I get some ideas that relate to what I want to write about when reading the most unusual sources. So I do a lot of reading, hit the golf ball, and have really enjoyed just having some time off.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much for spending time with us today, Scott. Really appreciate it. How can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Oh, I appreciate that, Rob. Thanks for asking. It's scottmckain.com. It's McKain. And that has links to the blog and the podcast and social media and anything else you might want to find. And all the books obviously are available on Amazon. So you just search my name on Amazon, and the audio books and the published books are all there.
Fantastic. Once again, Scott, thank you so much. And we hope that you have an awesome rest of your stay in Hawaii.
I appreciate it, Rob. And hey, again, thank you for what your great work has done to help our business. And here's the other part, our personal life as well. Because one of the things about entrepreneurs is, man, it's in your head all the time. It's hard, you might get a physical break, but it's harder to get the mental break. And having a situation where there's people that you trust and people who can execute gives you a mental break that is extraordinarily valuable. So thanks for that.
We're happy that you're getting that kind of an impact. That's terrific. Thanks again, Scott.